everybody, welcome back to my channel. We're going to do a cooking tutorial on making Mishy Moshy pizzas. That's what we called them growing up, but they're basically English muffin pizzas. So here's what we're going to use. Some English muffins. We have regular and multigrain. We're going to use mozzarella cheese that's shredded, some shredded Parmesan. We're going to use olive oil, sauce of your choice, seasonings of your choice. We like garlic powder, garlic salt, and we like oregano. Mom doesn't. And then toppings of your choice. So we have ground beef tonight. And I'm also going to make a low-carb thin crust pizza with a stuffed crust. So stay tuned for that. It ended up being pretty awesome. So the first thing you want to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Just have your racks in the middle, 2 slots. They can be right on top of each other. That's fine. These are Thomas's English muffins, which are fork split already. But you could cut them with a knife, but we just always like the nooks and crannies that comes with continuing to fork split them. So this is the way Mama did it. This is the way we do it. Jim and I are having whole grain, which is the 100-calorie English muffins, and Mom is having a plain one. And I'm just going to fork split all of them. I like to take my time, do it around all 3 sides. If you want to let kids do this, this is a great thing. We made these when we were little. If I had kids, they'd be making them too. And this is a fun task. And because you're not using a knife, you can fork split them. They can fork split them too. Okay? So you're just going to arrange them on the pan. We're going to get 8 to this small cookie sheet. And then the one thing that I didn't show a picture of in the beginning that we're going to need as well, or as an option, is Parmesan cheese. I really like some Parmesan cheese on there. But we don't feel the need for salt and pepper because the cheeses are salty enough. And you can always pepper it when you're done. Sometimes baking pepper doesn't really always come out the best, but oregano is a must. So the first thing is we're going to use some olive oil. I have a soup spoon, like a homemade soup spoon, not a homemade, an at-home soup spoon, and I filled it with enough oil to basically cover 2 English muffins. So I've just drizzled it around, and now I'm taking the back of the spoon and I'm spreading it into the English muffin again. That's the way Mama did it. This is one of those things my mom made. My mom didn't cook very much, but she definitely could cook these. Tuna fish casserole and anything with egg noodles. But even after she passed, this is the way we continue to make them. So we have a little extra virgin olive oil. It's really nice for the baking. It's got a really good flavor. If not, just regular olive oil is fine. We're going to do this to all of them, no matter which type of sauce that you use. This, according to my dad, is what makes it seem more like pizza and less like you're having sauce on an English muffin. If that makes any sense. I hope it does. Now, I hope my family's not watching this and comes at me for using pre-shredded mozzarella cheese. No joke, only choice. These items were purchased during the pandemic, and it was either this shredded or some like really weird block cheese that looked like could have been like a block of Swiss or a block of cheddar. It was I have it, but I didn't use it for this pizza. So I'm using the Classico roasted garlic. It has 6 grams of sugar per half a cup, but we're going to hardly use a half a cup. I just again take another soup spoon, and we're going to use a soup spoon of about 3/4 of a soup spoon of sauce per muffin. Now, it may look lightly sauced to you, but if you really put on too much sauce, we've learned over the years that the cheese just slides off with your first bite. If you like your cheese to slide off with your first bite, go ahead and put extra sauce. Otherwise, take my advice, just put a light coat of sauce on there. Now, if you have homemade sauce, that of course would be best, but jarred sauce is what we use. We always have, and we always probably will. The only time I would ever use homemade sauce is if it was some leftover, but that's usually surrounded by spaghetti at that point. So, okay. There is a variety of toppings that you could use. Mini pepperonis, obviously any vegetables. I would keep my vegetables raw because it does bake for about 15 minutes. I think the only thing I might actually pre-cook is if you want like caramelized onions. Then you could pre-cook that. But ham and pineapple. This ground beef is probably cooked a little bit too long for this pizza, but it's, it's what we have, it's what we did. So Jim actually browned it with some garlic, so it's actually like a garlic beef, which is really good. And now for mom's, she has the Prego roasted garlic Alfredo or four cheese, whatever you want to use. And we're going to use the same thing, just about 3/4 of a spoonful of sauce. I end up using a tiny bit too much of this for hers, but I think it's because hers came out of the refrigerator and it was a little bit thicker. So when it started to melt, it started to spread and expand a little bit. So be mindful of that depending on where your sauce is. This sauce was in the refrigerator because we used it for a previous dish. Okay? Now after that, then it's really a matter of personal preference if you want to do like the cheese or the toppings next. I kind of feel like it's almost like where you're from. A lot of places put the toppings under the cheese. A lot of places put the toppings on top of the cheese. But really, it's a matter of personal preference. What we're going to do is we're going to do cheese next. Now, this cheese is, like I said, pre-shredded. I'm just using a baby tongs because of the current situation. Even with clean hands, you don't want to touch other people's food if you at all can avoid it. Don't worry, I'm going to be in there in a minute making my own food. But this is just a tip. You can use these baby type tongs to get your cheese on there. And then I'm going to use a fork to spread the cheese around, just to keep it hands free. Okay? Obviously, my hands were all over everybody's pizza crust, though, right? Yeah, we noticed that. Just tips, you know. The next option is, do you do Parmesan cheese now if you want, or do you want your toppings and more cheese on top? There really isn't any other rules that I can give you other than you definitely want to put olive oil and you definitely want to put a really thin layer of sauce. And you don't want to pre-toast your English muffins. That's pretty much all the rules. Otherwise, it's really a matter of like how you like your pizza and up to interpretation. Okay? So for 4 of them, we're going to add the ground beef. I'm going to make 4 of the whole wheat ones, excuse me. We're going to add the ground beef. 2 of the whole wheat ones we're going to leave plain. I just wanted plain cheese. This particular jar of sauce has chunks of tomato in there, and I put all the chunks of tomato on my pizza with the with the plain with the no cheese, because that's the way I like it. So if you have that option and you're the big tomato person in the family, go ahead and do that. Steal all the tomatoes for your pizza. But again, we're just using a soup spoon again to distribute all of the ground beef, as much as you want, as little as you want, matter of personal preference. Okay? And then once that's done, it's time for Parmesan cheese and then your seasonings. So you could always put garlic powder under the sauce, and it's almost like you're having your pizza on garlic bread, which is really delicious. But if you want to, just wait till all the toppings are done and you can sprinkle the whole thing with whatever seasonings you want. Like I said, we prefer garlic powder. I actually prefer granulated garlic, but we don't use that in this house because it's a little spicy for Mom. So we use like this really finely ground powder. It's kind of wild. And she wanted garlic salt on hers. She does like things salty, so we did that for her. I have a homemade garlic salt that I make. It's basically this garlic powder, kosher salt, and parsley flakes, dried parsley flakes. And I keep it in the jar in the front of the drawer. The only benefit to a salted spice is onion salt, because the salt keeps the onion powder from being one congealed mess. And anybody who knows has ever bought onion powder knows, use it now or it's going to be a congealed mess. So we're going to go ahead and sprinkle on the Parmesan after the garlic, and then the oregano is going to be last. Now remember, no oregano for Mom. This is just whole dried oregano leaves. And I squeeze them between my fingers just to break them up a little bit and spread them all around. It's kind of like how we put it on the world's greatest garlic bread. I have that recipe on my channel as well. That's Pop's famous garlic bread. Now this is the oregano that's going on, and then I did a little bit of the garlic salt on Mom's, okay? And now it's going to go into an oven at 350 degrees for about 15 minutes. And then we'll check them. Of course, that depends on your oven type, exactly how high you put it in the oven. You want to just, I'll show you what it's going to look like when it's checked. So we're going to do for about 15 minutes, and this one's going to go on the top rack. So while that is started, we're going to go ahead and make this tortilla pizza. These are low carb tortillas, and these were awesome. Now, I don't know if this pizza came out so good because of the tortillas, but if you saw the brand in the beginning, I think Bandito, I think, and they're like a white tortilla, but they're low carb. I think each one is 4 net carbs. So this isn't a low carb pizza, but compared to the English muffin, it is a low carb pizza. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 tortillas, roughly the same size. We're going to make a stuffed crust pizza. So we're going to just put a lot of mozzarella cheese in the middle. Now, I did say to Jim, this would have been a good time for me to actually put garlic down there too, to sort of make a garlic cheese stuffed crust pizza. That would have been really good. But what I did was I just put a drizzle of olive oil around the brim, kind of to hold the 2 tortillas together. I rubbed it with my finger. Again, this is my pizza, so I'm touching it all over. That's okay. I rubbed it with my fingers, and then I took some more sauce and I laid it across the top, just like we did with the English muffin pizzas. And I'm just rubbing it all over. Okay. Now I'm just going to do sauce, cheese, and toppings of my choice. Again, this is this Classico roasted garlic sauce, which I love. Just the sauce. I didn't really take the chunks of tomato onto this pizza because, again, I wanted to do what I know as much as I could. The unknown was how the crust was going to act. But I have to tell you, highly recommend it. Now, I did say this is the first time I'm doing this, and I never tried this with other tortillas. So if you try it and you do a different tortilla, please let me know in the comments of this video. I would love to know if you tried it as well. Now, this one's not going to bake as long. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do sauce. We're going to cheese. We're going to do Parmesan. We're going to do oregano and garlic powder on this one as well. But let me know if you try it. I would really love to see how yours came out, if it was just as good as mine. Now, mine was baked with the English muffin pizzas. You know, when you bake something by itself, usually takes a little bit longer, a little bit less time, excuse me. It takes a little bit longer when it's baked with something else. Yeah, and then the oregano. And then we're going to pop this one in the oven. We didn't reset the timer. There was just a few minutes left on the timer. So we just popped it in. And I wanted it on the bottom rack so the pizza crust would get nice and crispy as well. Okay? Now, both of these, once the 15-minute timer went off, we went ahead and we turned the English muffin pizzas around and we put both of them back on for an additional 4 minutes. But I do not know how long I put this on for. Jim forgot to note the time, or we forgot to note the time. I'm sorry. Now, the timer went off. You just want to inspect. Here's what you're looking for. Melted cheese, and you want a slight bit of toasted color around the edge of the English muffins. But I will tell you, when we were younger, we were very impatient. And we ate them sort of soggy, and that's where they got the name Mishy Moshy pizzas from. I'm pretty sure that's where they got Mishy Moshy pizzas from. But we now, as adults, like them a little crispier. But that's, again, personal preference. If you like a New York pizza that's like really soggy, then you want your soggy English muffins. It's really a matter of like your oven, how well it cooks, how many you make, and how you prefer your pizza to be. So I would suggest starting with 15 minutes, then checking in and see how it goes from there. So like I said, we put it on for an additional 4 minutes. Now, I have seen tortilla pizzas, or people make quesadillas in the oven before, and then they add broiler to it or whatever, but we didn't feel that necessary. If you like your cheese to be brown, then you can hit it with the broiler for like a minute, the most. But this gave a really nice tan color around the edge of the crust. It left the edge of the crust where we had just put olive oil between the layers. It left it so nice and crispy, but the rest of it was like just like a perfect thin crust pizza. I don't know how to describe it. It was really good. I was pleasantly surprised. Let's just put it that way. So we transferred the flatbread pizza just to a cutting board. This is just like a thin mat that I got from Aldi. It's one that's for vegetables. And I just cut it with my pizza cutter, and it was just, oh, so good. I'm thinking about it still, and there's no more left, so I have to find more of these. But I hope you guys really enjoyed this, and I'm hoping that you get to try it. If you do, then just please let me know. Share it on socials. Leave it in the comments down below. I would love to hear if you liked it, if you enjoyed it, what your variations are. That's another thing. I'm really excited to see if you like it. And I have to tell you, after all that, Mom had a piece, and she really liked it too. She said, of course, it would be better with white sauce and ground beef for next time. But so that's everything. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, share. And as always, you guys take care. God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye.